Is this the end of subject to? Is this the end of wholesaling real estate? What in the world is going on? Guys, what is up? Zatkin here in today's live emergency live stream. We need to talk about what just happened in the state of Arizona and this insane, massive bombshell lawsuit, which is going to have really massive implications for subject twos and really mostly subject twos. I don't want to spoil it out here, but I honestly, I think I could make like a 5-minute video and explain this on, like a YouTube, TikTok or short or whatever, just like tell me what I think in 30 seconds. But the sheer amount of people DMing me, asking me questions, I'm like, okay, I just got to do a live stream about this. You have heard this I've heard this for the last day. Subject, well, I mean, since the 7th when the lawsuit. I sent it to Rick on the 8th, and I've been reading it over, and I mean, so many messages. Like, I heard wholesaling's now illegal across the entire country. I heard subject to is now banned, and all these. And let me tell you the truth. Right now, everything's the same as it was. There's a lawsuit. A judge needs to interpret the lawsuit and make their decisions. What the judge decides is going to be case law, which is going to be used in the state of Arizona and probably around the United States for a very long time. So this is very, very, very insane what's happening. And I don't want to get in the drama of this. So I will tell you first and foremost, guys, if you just want to start wholesaling, just go to freewholesaling.com and wholesale real estate from there. But this fundamentally comes down to a lawsuit, what's going on. So let's break this all down and share. Now, I have to give you guys a legal disclaimer before I say this, because there is not one video on the internet talking about this lawsuit and actually reading it with you. A lot of people just read the lawsuit and then tell you what you're supposed to think about it, and they give you what your talking points is. And I hate when politicians do that, right? They're like, don't read the law. I'm just going to tell you if you should be happy about the law or against the law. Well, I'm going to tell you my honest opinion of it, and I'm going to give you it all. But one thing I'm going to do is I do have to give you some disclosures, just to let you know. So first and foremost, legal disclaimer. This video, created by Zatkin, discusses allegations of fraud against homeowners as detailed in an ongoing lawsuit. The purpose of this video is to provide information and entertainment only, and is not intended to defame, harm the reputation of the individuals being sued. Please note that the individual discussed in this video is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The lawsuit is still pending. The views and opinions expressed here are solely those of the creator, Zatkin, and do not reflect the opinions or positions of any other parties, organizations, or entity. This video does not constitute legal advice. Viewers should consult with a legal professional for any legal questions or concerns. I assume no responsibility for any actions taken by viewers based on the content of this video. So, legal disclaimer has been given. All right, good to go. Perfect. All right. So let's talk about what is going on. So if you look at the description of this video, I'm going to go drop it, the link for you guys in here too. But basically, the state of Arizona has sued some individuals. I will not particularly mention their names. You can read it and see it. I'm not going to say if they did something bad or good, because they might show in discovery that these allegations are false and they're innocent, as they are presumed to be until something happens. So I'm giving no opinion on what's going on. What I'm more concerned of is how the state attorney is defining subject twos. Now, a spoiler alert, they talk about real estate investing and wholesaling, but they only involve wholesaling when it comes to it being a legal thing and how this person did something wrong inside of wholesaling. They separate wholesaling being legal from the actual bad thing they do. So let's talk about this. Okay, first and foremost, subject twos might be gone in the way that we think it is. So I made this out of this video. This might be the end of subject two as we know it. This is subject two is still going to be going on. It's still going to be a thing, but the way that we do it is going to massively change after this. Now, this is going to have the biggest implication in guess where? Arizona. But massive. This is a massive lawsuit, and it's going to change a ton if they win. Now, remember, this is a lawsuit. This is not a criminal case. This is nothing criminal. Now, according to this, and I'm going to share my screen and show you guys so you can read with me. I'm also sharing you the page numbers and all these. So I think you're a smart person. I think you can read things, right? But this is having a massive lawsuit, and it will change a ton if the judge defines this as, yes, the state attorney is correct. We are going to go after him for X, Y, and Z. So if the judge actually goes forward with the lawsuit and says, yes, this is correct, then case law is created. Case law is very important. We got to understand how case law works. Anyone can get sued for anything. I could sue you for tying your shoes and I didn't like it. The thing is, the judge will probably throw that case out because that's stupid, right? And a lot of people like to talk about how corrupt the courts and all these things. I'll be honest with you. The United States has probably one of the best court systems in the entire world. And I truly do believe in the United States of America, if you falsely do get accused of a crime, plenty of bad things happen, but I do believe in the United States, you have the best due process and you have the best chance of winning a fraudulent lawsuit against you than any other country in the United States. There's definitely a ton of people who get arrested and they get falsely accused and they go to prison and they get exonerated. But the United States is still the best country in the entire world if you do get sued for a fraudulent reason. Now, that being said, the way lawsuits work is, for example, I've shown this case many times, where a ton of wholesalers got sued for breaking DNC law. Now, I have said in multiple instances that you can cold call even if they're on the DNC. From my legal perspective, there's no case law. Then people started getting sued. And guess what? Because they got sued doesn't mean cold calling DNC is illegal. But what happened was the judge looked at it and said, no, cold calling, if you're wholesaling real estate without a license, is legal if you cold call the DNC. So basically, the judge said, no, you can cold call DNC list as long as you're not a realtor. That's my interpretation of it, right? Again, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Please seek legal counsel before you do anything. This is what I saw. Now, it's depending on what's happening. So let me talk about what's going on. I'm going to give you kind of my thoughts on this, and then we're going to go screen share and read it together, right? So again, 75% of the lawsuit of what I found is what I consider general fraud or fraudulent activities. So, I mean, this is just basics. Like, you lie to a seller, you forge documents, like that basic stuff that a lot of people get arrested for wholesaling or they get sued for wholesaling. It's not because they did an assignment of contract. It's because they forged like a notary signature. I'm not saying this person did that. We'll read it together and see. But basically, the only thing I saw here that was pretty important was this person is a real estate educator. So they sell courses or programs on real estate. And that's how people really get sued, when they sell programs on how to do it, because they're trying to stop the spread, more or less. And they're alleged lying and frauding sellers. Now, this is all alleged, by the way. Just get that disclaimer out there. Let's talk about it. Number one, 25% of the case that I found has some crazy claims. And I'm not going to call it crazy, but like what I'm saying is these are claims that are going to be fought really hard. I don't want to spoil too much, but one of these claims was that a title company doing a subject to transaction on a VA or FHA loan is considered fraudulent and equity stripping, and it's part of a racketeering case. And that's kind of crazy. And it's basically implying, from what I saw, that you can't do a subject to on a VA or FHA loan. That's what I'm kind of reading from this. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, and we definitely need a judge to go who's way more qualified than me to go judge this and make their decision. But if that case law goes through, got some big changes going on. And so this big claim will effectively change how subject to is done. Now, I want everyone to know, the thing about subject to is what they're claiming has zero effect on the way that me and Rick do it. So the way that I do a subject to, the way Rick does subject tos, is a lot different than the way these people were doing it. And the issues that the state attorney is alleging would have never happened with the way that we do subject tos, because of many things. We'll go over that, right? So let's kind of read this and go over this together. And please comment below. Love to see everyone's opinion on this. But let's go kind of read this and see what is going on here. This is crazy. Whew. It is insane. So let's break this down and share this. So let's go out here and read this. So this is from Kristen Mays, the Attorney General. And let's go. I would like to allege, a lot of people say that she is very progressive, and that's why she's, I have no idea. But let's go out here and read it, right? So we can actually go Control F and like do subject to, and see when they mention subject to, but I'm just going to do a regular one. Okay, so this basically is alleging that the defendant, who I'm not going to name, but you can go read it if you want. And let me actually get the link here for everyone on here so we can read it together. Here we go. All right, cool. That the defendant is stripping Arizona homeowners of millions of dollars of equity in their homes. Equity stripping schemes target homeowners who have significant equity in their homes, but are facing foreclosure by the mortgage lenders. Unlike underwater homes where the mortgage balance is higher than the fair market value, these high equity homes are worth significantly more than the balance of mortgage in foreclosure. Now, I want everyone to understand, like, let's pause this for a second. A lot of people have told me that, oh, they're telling you that wholesaling is equity stripping and it's going to be illegal. I would actually, if I only read that, I'd be like, oh, honestly, yeah, maybe that's the reason. Let's keep reading this and see what they consider equity stripping in the actual illegal portions of this. When a home is in foreclosure is sold at a trustee's auction, the presence of competing bidders tends to move the final price close to the fair market value of the property. When a high equity home is auctioned, the purchase price generally exceeds the balance due to the mortgage lender and the other lien holders. That's correct. Under Arizona law, these excess funds are returned to the homeowner. When this occurs, the homeowner's loses the property but keeps the equity in the form of excess cash from the auction. Correct. The entire purpose, so this is the most important part here when someone tells me this about wholesaling, the entire purpose of the equity stripping scheme is to prevent the distressed homeowner from receiving that excess cash by blocking the auction and tricking the homeowner into selling the home far below the fair market value. Then the schemers flip the property to an investor, frequently in the same escrow transaction, so double closing, I believe, instead of an investor winning a winning bid at auction and the equity going to homeowner. The investor gives the equity to the schemers, The investor gives the equity to the schemers, diverting millions of dollars from distressed homeowners to the pockets of the conspirators. That is actually insane. So we got to understand this first and foremost. Generally, the idea of buying a property or getting a property under contract for below the market value is not equity stripping or anything like that, or buying a house below the market value and then reselling it. No, that's not what they're alleging here. We can read this one more time. Is if the property, which is set to auction, this is very important here. The auction date is already set. This is how equity stripping in their mind is defined, right? Tricking into selling the is to prevent from receiving excess cash by blocking the auction. Now, this is very important to understand that no rational homeowner will enter a deal like the ones offered by equity strippers, so the equity strippers have to trick the homeowners into signing paperwork. Now, the scheme operated by defendants typically starts when a mortgage lender initiates a foreclosure auction, causing the notice of auction date to be recorded. Very, very, very important, okay? Now, this is very important here, but like what this is basically showing here is the fraud starts when a property is set to be auctioned off. So us wholesaling a property in pre-foreclosure where there's no auction date set, which I've always taught for wholesaling.com is the best way to do it. Don't do it when the auction date is set, is all permitted, legal, not equity stripping. It is when the auction date is already set is what Arizona is claiming to have an issue here. So I'm not saying to avoid foreclosure, but I am telling you this, that once an auction date is set, you gotta be very careful. Now, Rick has said this so many times. I have said this so many times, but a seller in foreclosure has a lot more rights than pretty much anyone else. Now, generally what is happening here is not really a massive issue, and no one in Arizona really goes after these people. What is the main issue is how they went about it. So it's like, okay, well, I kind of have to go out here and stop this guy. Not because he's going after foreclosures, but it's the problem is the property's set to go foreclosure. So maybe the property's worth $300,000. It's set to go to auction, and I block the auction so I can buy it for $250,000. Theoretically, the seller should have gotten an extra $50,000, and I stole it from them from equity stripping. This can only happen once an auction date is set. When an auction date is not set, they are not accusing anyone who does it before the auction date is set. So let's make that very, 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 very clear here, right? Now, a lot of people are like, oh, and Mateo, this is kind of funny. Mateo's like, this is laughable. They're just dirty sellers. No, guys, according to this, if this is all true, not good for the wholesaler. Let me tell you here. So what they did was, and this is very, very important, is what they did was they had drivers who go to the house. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to show you what it is. The drivers were trained to go to the house to make false statements in these notes saying, I'm working with your lender to impersonate a delivery service. Guys, if you go to somebody's houses in a pre-foreclosure and you're looking to buy it and you say, I work for the lender, you are lying, okay? And that is basically the definition of fraud. These people are being attacked for fraud because they're lying to the seller about who they are. Like, seriously. They're lying to the seller about who they are. So don't defend these. I would not defend this action of lying to a seller. Come on. That's ridiculous. Here's even worse. Are you ready? These people who go to the house, they're employed to do strategies to gain trust of homeowners by claiming they're quote, home advocates or hardship specialists from organizations such as Arizona's Helping Hands. One training script says, what I mainly do is help people by guiding them through the foreclosure process to offer myself as a resource. We help you keep your home. Guys, they're pretending to be a charity. I hope you know this. Like, what they're alleging here is the seller is acting as a charity to help them out to gain the trust of the seller and then writing a contract to buy it. I'm just telling you, this is crazy. This is insane. No actual, like, legitimate, real, like, good person would do something like this. Now, this is all alleged. Maybe this is fake, right? And then they do a purchase and sale agreement, but they're pretending to be a charity. Now, despite numerous homeowners expressing they do not want to sell their home, they would often sign the documents because the drivers and closers fraudulently claim the documents merely authorize the schemers to contact the mortgage company. Wow! Come on, guys. Like, so we do not have to defend these people. They tricked the homeowner into signing the contract because they said, if you sign here, it's only a piece of paper so I can contact the mortgage company. Guys, I hope you know, like, okay, like, this is not because they're attacking wholesale. They're attacking this. So you see the person's being sued for fraud. This is fraud. When you lie to a seller, like, hey, Mr. Seller, just sign the, oh, I don't want to sell it. No. This is just so I can contact the mortgage company. Come on. This is insane. Now, they're also claiming here that these terms were unfair because they only had a $10 EMD. Now, this is interesting. Sometimes zero EMD. Now, what they're claiming here is $10 EMD is not enough. Now, they are not showing this. They are saying that these contracts are null and void because they're unlawful. This is actually very, very interesting. We are going to get case law in Arizona telling you is if $10 is enough EMD in the state of Arizona. The judge might say, no, $10 is enough. I'm curious to see what the judge says. Maybe we have to do $100 or $300 or $400 EMDs. I don't know. We got to see how this goes. No big deal. We got some ways around this, but some people use these $10 EMDs. We're going to see how this goes. This is going to get interesting. We don't know what the judge is going to say here, but they are alleging here too that $10 EMD is not enough. So that does have an effect on air. This is for Arizona only. This is not for the state of Florida, state of Georgia, for Arizona. This is very interesting, right? Now, I'm not going to get in the other, a lot of this can get a little boring, but they are claiming the defendant is filing fake bankruptcy petitions and all. Like, I'm not going to get into all this. Kind of crazy, but they're alleging that these title companies were in on the scheme too, and multiple lawyers. It's crazy when you say a lawyer's in the scheme. It's crazy. Many homeowners complained that the defendant got scammed out of their homes. One seller recorded saying that, I just want to stay in my house. I want to stay in my house. I don't want to lose my house, and I don't want to move. And they assigned it, and they kicked the person out. That's terrible. That is terrible. And so this is also just very important. We tell sellers, like, hey, I want to buy your house. So, like, I want to buy your house, which means I buy it and you move. Like, you just straight up with someone, like, You're good. I don't think I teach anyone to do anything that bad. Like, don't do that. It's insane. Okay. You got to be straight up. Now, you might tell yourself, Zach, how did that even happen? And I agree. I was at this point when I was reading it, I was like, this is not, I was crazy. I was like, there is zero chance this actually happened. Like, zero chance. You might be like, Zach, why do you not believe? I said, because a title company would probably call the homeowner and say, hey, we're ready for you to sell your property. Are you ready to sell? What's a good time for you to sign so you can sell your house? Like, right? Like that always happens with a title company. I kid you not. The title company in here, where it's being alleged, the title company is told by the wholesaler, don't contact the seller at all. Don't tell them that. Don't tell them that they're selling their house. And according to this, we're going to read it. Maybe I'm incorrect here. Let's read it. It says here the title companies were not contacting them. That's insane. But let's read it, because if a title company calls the seller and say, hey, we're ready to sell the property, usually they know. So a little weird. Interesting. So we got to see how that goes. But that, because the title company, well, they include the title company, said the title company also is involved, because to do a scheme like this, you need the title company to be in on it. You need the title company not to talk to the seller and trick the seller too. So it's very interesting here. So we're going to see what's going on here. All right. So over 10 years, they ran this. So I didn't say they said they're running this as a scam, which is insane. They're talking about who they're suing. I'm not going to talk about the defendants. They're all in here. You guys can read it. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah. So we're just gonna skip through this. La 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 la. Okay. They're also saying these law companies. Now, again, I will tell you these law firms that they're being alleged. I don't know. They're claiming some of these law firms are doing improper eviction proceedings. Maybe it's not the law office's fault that this is happening. I don't know. We do need to read and see what's going on here, right? It's very, very, very interesting, right? But we got to see what's going on. Okay. So basically, they're saying this person attended a seminar in Vegas teaching people how to become wealthy in real estate. Oh boy. And basically, blah, 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 blah. They're doing their thing, right? And they're getting into this venture, right? And they're just talking about how they're doing their thing. They hired this guy to coach their drivers to driving and door knock on houses. So door knocking pre-foreclosures, very interesting. There's nothing wrong in that except the way they were doing it. And they're talking about the recruiting techniques, and it's a little boring here, so we're going to skip it. But basically, they were telling people that to be a driver, that you can come to our house, you come to our office, we'll teach you how to be in real estate. They said here that he said he did 500 deals. And they said, well, he actually did not actually do 500 deals by that date. So technically, he defrauded the people he was teaching, according to these statements, right? The flyers are false. Interesting. He said he personally mentored all of 100 people from all the ages of life that helped them produce in real estate. Quote here is, he did not teach 1,000 people. He did not teach 100 people, which is very, very interesting. He did not close anywhere near 1,000 deals in his first 4 years. I have no opinion. I have no idea how they can even know. I mean, they'd have to, in discovery, he could probably defend himself on that if he did do the 1,000. I think you can defend yourself mentoring over 100 people. That's actually kind of easy. So I don't know why. I mean, he might get defamation on the attorney general in this, because I think you can claim you taught 100 people. I don't think that's insane actually, but okay. So we're talking about this. They said the defendant was earning a gross over $1 million, that's actually a lot of money for wholesaling. So good for this guy. And they were selling this program for $97, and they were teaching people how to do this, which is interesting. Now, I'll be honest with you. Back in the day in 2019, a lot of people in Arizona were doing this. They were knocking on doors. There's actually a lot of apps coming out about how to knock on doors on pre-foreclosures. They weren't lying or anything, but this was a pretty popular thing in 2019. I actually, back in the day, I had an affiliate for a software that would knock on doors, and it was in Arizona, actually. That software is actually very interesting. Now, that company did nothing wrong. and they actually moved it over, I believe, to a Driving for Dollars app, and it's really good. Definitely all above board, amazing. But like I'm not saying that company did anything wrong. I'm saying that like door knocking was really massive, that these big companies were making door knocking apps in 2020 and 2019. So this was very popular in Arizona. So, okay. Blah, 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 blah. The agreement, the school normally charges 20 grand to the driver, and they said you'll do it for free in exchange for uncompensated labor. What in the world? Oh, bro. I need. So they said, we usually charge 20 grand for me to teach you real estate, but if you agree to knock on doors for me, I'll teach you for free. Wow, I need to get some of that uncompensated labor for my team. Does anybody want to get some uncompensated cold calling labor? Wow. Jeez Louise, man. That's crazy. They had to pay him, right? No person was ever paid 20 grand to learn anything. So yeah, they were fraudulent about that. They're talking about how the guy's training them fraudulently. I mean, I'm not going to get in this, but like they're talking about the door knocking team and the success guides, and like a lot of these teachings are fake, and it's just kind of. But like, do you see how the guy said here that people usually pay 20 grand, and there's not one proof that the person paid 20 grand? That's most real estate educators in the wholesaling space. FYI, just FYI. But a lot of them actually, there are a lot of them still, even most of them don't, that I will tell you that do make a lot of money. And they actually do claim they do pay him a lot of money. So this defendant said his goal was a net income of 100 million and net worth of 500 million. He said he has a portfolio of cryptocurrency, liquid 10 billion. His goal is to have a liquid $10 billion. That's a lot of money. I wish I had that much. My net worth is not 10 billion. Let's get to a bill first. Okay, then we're talking about the collapse of the venture, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you guys can read the rest of this. He was angry. Hopefully, okay, we're gonna get rid of that one. Defendant was incarcerated for 4 separate the next several months. They exchanged disputing over money, and this looks very messy. Homeowners in Surprise, Arizona accused defendant of fraudulently indict. Oh, wow. Read this. For example, in May 2023, homeowners in Surprise, Arizona accused defendant Arizona Houses of fraudulently inducing signatures on incomplete documents. The same kind of fraud made by, wow, that's not good. Okay, so we're talking about all these other things, and they're talking about alter ego entities. So I believe here this is talking about Arizona Helping Hands pretending to be a charity. Maybe let me read this right. Wow, now we're getting down here. Now we're getting into the craziest stuff. So they're just giving you the discovery of what they thought. But let's talk about this. This is crazy. All right. Defendant was threatening to sue American Title, which is a massive. American Title, by the way, is a massive title company. Actually, wait. This might be American Title in Arizona. American Title. Okay, it's actually not a massive. Is it First American or American? I think it's American. American Title is actually not a big one, so I don't think it's going to be a big one on here. But defendant American Title pursued the transaction, blah, 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 after receiving threats. So they said he was threatening the title company to go out here and do this. All right. We control the property with blah, blah, blah. Okay. Filing a lawsuit. Okay. So we're going to skip this stuff. So let's get into the good stuff here. Okay. The name Arizona Helping Hands was to confuse distressed homeowners and deceive them into selling their homes. I don't think they're too off on that. So business cards, hardship specialist, senior partner, Arizona was responsible for the creation of the business card. This is why if you use a company, like you got to do a very, very, very clear one. Okay. All right. This is a very, very clear one. Okay. But like I use like companies like Treasure Coast Home Buyers, you can do like Miami House Buyers. Like it's very clear what your company is. So you don't want to use a name that just sounds like this is Florida, veteran help. Like you don't want to do something like that. Like you don't want to have it sound like you're not like a for-profit company or something crazy. So you got to make it very, very clear. Okay. So any situation you won't call away. Okay, blah, 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 blah. And I'm continuing to speak with you. So this guy said, hello, my name's Daniel. I'm coming to speak with you because your lender has hired an attorney to start a foreclosure. Okay, that's actually not too off. Okay, fake entities, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So they're also claiming here that they were exploiting vulnerable adults, which this means these are adults who, let's see, drug addiction to dementia. Yeah. So for example, I've actually dealt with sellers who've had dementia. And when I'm told this, I do not sign a contract with that person. Not because I'm a terrible person or they don't deserve to be dealt with. What I do is I say, okay, well, let me talk to your brother, your aunt, your uncle, daughter, son, whoever. And they're like, oh, well, I have a power of attorney over to my sister, and she is the one who takes care of my affairs. I'm like, perfect. Well, let's just talk. My name's Zach. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is my car. Just so you know, if I drive, like if I come by and you might, just hopefully know whom. And what we are going to do is I'm going to come back. I'm going to meet you with your sister, and we'll discuss what's best for you and the family. And then we go from there. And I come back with the aunt, and hopefully if they have a daughter, kid, whatever, like we can go and talk like, hey, I would have to be at this price to buy it. You can also list it with a realtor. It's totally up to you, but that's where my offer would be. And when it comes to something like that, right, I don't do any high pressure, any like probates, especially on like, I just give an offer. That's where I'm at. I'm looking to buy it. And he would have to go move out and go somewhere, but it's all up to you. There's no pressure. If you don't, no big deal. And then sometimes say no, sometimes say, yeah, go for it. And then that's how we do it the proper way. Don't ever do it. If I found somebody was under the influence or like we don't sign anything, right? Very important to do that. Okay. So let's see here. All right. Get the mortgage statement. Did not have unilateral authority to sell the property, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Defendant replied, she's hard of hearing. Should make it easier. Defendant replied saying, okay, let me try. She's hard of hearing. Defendant said that should make it easier. Wow. Easier to take the property from them. I mean, this guy, like, I think a state attorney saw this and like, okay, like I can't just ignore this. Like, this is insane. Let's see here. Due to amputation, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Including a lease back, which is meaningless because it was so vague. As a weapon to evict a vulnerable home. Wow, this is insane. Okay. So yeah, not good. So they also did bankruptcy fraud that is being alleged here, that they're stopping the bankruptcy from happening, which is funny. So let's see here. Clue defendant who is an employer made the dryers independent to avoid complying with laws protecting employees. That's so funny. Oh Lord. Okay. So we keep going here. Probate court fraud. So actually I was reading this over. I let Rick read it over too. It's actually insane. But if you read it, it's kind of interesting, right? So for example here, this also involved where someone passed away. They convinced the heir to sell the property below fair market value. They accomplished by preparing and filing bankruptcy forms for the heir. Do you see how the bankruptcy forms were the problem? That's the issue, not buying it for under fair market value. It's the preparing the bankruptcy forms. It's when you fraudulently do the bankruptcy forms. Do you remember when it comes to bankruptcies and short sales and things like this? We've had issues with law people on this. So we're representing the heir and the adverse party. Ethical conflict of interest. Interesting. Terminated the lack of payment. They submitted a letter to probate court naming personal representative of the parent's estate. From the efforts, complaining that nobody would update him on the status of the probate case. So the defendant said no one updated him. And they added PR after the signature to indicate probate when the fact the seller was signing as a personal representative. Okay, well, that's actually incorrect, but okay, we won't go in there. But PR stands for personal representative. But now they said that this attorney represented the daughter. Same probate where the defendant was causing a fraudulent pleading declaring another heir to be dead when the fact that supposedly heir had filed the competing. Wow. Holy mother of pearl. So this attorney's being hit hard on this one. So I want everyone to know, just because an attorney gives you an opinion doesn't mean it's completely right. Some attorneys can get in trouble. So this says attorney Dustin Schoonmaker represented the daughter of a deceased homeowner on Edgemont Avenue in the probate court. This was the same probate matter where the defendant had caused the filing of a fraudulent pleading declaring another heir to be dead, when in fact the supposed dead heir had filed a competing probate matter days earlier. So that means the heir, I'm guessing the heir did not want to sell to this guy. So he submitted something saying, oh, that person died, I can buy the house now. And the person didn't die. They had a competing probate case. Oh, and the attorney went with it, but maybe the attorney was done. The attorney would have to show that, oh no, my client tricked me. They could probably get away with that. This is insane. I mean, guys, I hope this isn't about wholesaling. This person is just doing everything that is not the right thing to do. We'll see. I mean, these lawyers have to defend themselves. I think they probably have a good case. Now, here's the part that things get really juicy. This is the subject to issue. This is where things are really, really, really going to get insane. Now, what I want to tell you, quick background, is I know a lot of wholesalers in Phoenix, Arizona. And a lot of... also, by the way, I'm getting some comments here. I will say the truth. The person that owns that law firm does talk to people on YouTube about subject twos and probates. He is not the guy that is doing these. Okay, FYI. Don't accuse anybody of anything. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying this law firm, I actually believe that this law firm is probably doing everything above board, but they probably got false statements from their client saying, oh, wait, the guy died. And they probably went with it because the person told them. So I don't think it's going to be these attorneys' faults per se. I think that attorneys defend them, say, hey, this guy lied to me. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know who's going to tell me. We're just going to see. But I don't think attorneys are pretty good and above board. I don't think they did anything wrong. Now they could. They have to prove themselves. There's discovery and channels and texting communication. We got to see how this is going. But here's the thing. Nobody's showing you this. Nobody's showing you the case. Nobody's reading it with you. Everyone's saying wholesaling's illegal, wholesaling's not. Just trust me, this is what you have to do. I saw somebody tell me that, oh, $10 EMD is now banned because of this. I just read you. We have to see what the judge says. But this is where things get crazy. All right, let me show you how. So everyone in Arizona that I've seen a lot of videos of people picking up checks. What I've noticed, a lot of them pick up checks at a title company called Magnus Title. That's what I've seen. Big Blue M. Let me know, am I crazy in the comments? On social media, I see a lot of people who do wholesaling deals. They do it at this place called Magnus Title. And a lot of people did subject to deals at Magnus Title. It's a very, very popular. I believe it is the largest woman-owned title company in the country. I believe in Arizona is one of the largest ones out there. And pretty cool. Now, one thing I will tell you is everyone is using this title company. So I don't think they're a bad title company. Very interesting though. So I've heard about this title company. I've never used them. Actually, I could be wrong. I have to go back because I've wholesaled. I might have used them. I will tell you this. I don't know if I've used them or not. I might have. I got to go back and look at some HUDs. I don't know. But I'll tell you, a lot of people oh, wow. What was that? That was weird. Hold on. We're gonna unplug this for a second. What in the world? Hold for a second. That was creepy. Whatever. We're gonna keep talking. Okay, I'm gonna plug this and unplug this for a second. Okay, let's keep talking here. Okay. So what we gotta see here is what's going on. So Magnus Title is who we've all seen as legitimate and good. And they're being thrown in this lawsuit, which I think is insane. So we got to see what in the world is going on here, right? Like I've heard Magnus Title. So they're being told that they are involved in this transaction and they're fraudulently doing things. That's what's being alleged here. Let's see what's going on. The equity stripping scheme could have not been possible with the knowing and involvement of a title company who performed the escrow duties and obtained the title insurance. This is what I thought. I said there is zero chance. Guys, let's play devil's advocate. I'm going to go out here and trick a seller in my market, say, you know what? You can stay in your house. You could stay in your house. Just sign this piece of paper saying that you're going to stay in your house and it was a purchase and sale for $5. And I'm really going to like screw this person over and be like this evil person. Well, I would have to bring it to a title company, and my title company, and pretty much any title company in Florida, they'll call the person and say, hey, this is Sherry, and I'm your title escrow officer, and I'm going to help you with the sale of the property. We're just looking to see exactly what's a good date for you to go out here and have the closing. At the closing, you are going to sign your deed over to Zach, and he's going to give you money. So you're basically selling the house to him. Is this correct? The person, no, they said I could keep my house. And then the title company would say, okay, well, Zach, I think Zach's lying and deceiving this person. I'm not going to close this transaction. That's how pretty much any fraudulent activity goes. The crazy part is the title company has to be doing something, and I don't know. I really don't know. So let's see exactly what they're alleged, because I'm very confused here. I'm like, what's going on? So it said here, the escrow agents, title companies, owes a fiduciary responsibility to both sides of the transaction. That's true. Okay. So despite owning a fiduciary duty to both homeowner and buyer, defendants, American Title and Magnus Title, instead acted to protect defendants that were in the detriment of the homeowners. Defendant American Title had actual knowledge of a broad variety of accusations made by defendants who acted on their behalf. American Title still continued to transact business with them. Gayla Thompson, employee and defendant of American Title, worked with defendant for a period of 7 years. She believed defendant did not meet the ethical standards required of licensed real estate brokers, but they kept going. American Title is aware of numerous calls from angry homeowners complaining that they had been forced to move out of their homes by him. Defendant Title nevertheless continued to accept lucrative business opportunities from the defendant. American Title justified their engagement in some questionable transactions on the grounds that the court had ordered the sale of the property. Defendant American Title did not, even though they were well aware the defendant primarily secured default judgments because the distressed property owners could not afford attorneys to file lawsuits. It's rough stuff. I don't really like doing that, but yeah, okay. Defendant Magnus Title, also known that the defendant engaged in illegal business practices, but largely turned a blind eye in order to protect their revenue stream. And I don't believe that. They had a lot of, unless this guy does thousands every single year, I don't see how this, but in one instance, the American Title refused to close the transaction because the homeowner's ex-spouse refused to sign documents authorizing the sale. Defendant turned to Magnus Title to complete the transaction because their standard for closing transactions were even lower than those of American Title. Ooh. Defendant American Title agreed to complete the transaction without securing the permission of the ex-spouse. Depends how the divorce decree did, but okay. Even the employees of Magnus Title understood that the company was facilitating improper transactions. For example, in 2023, Riley Grabner emailed the defendant regarding the Edgemont property, which had been sold during the fraudulent property handled by that law firm. Now, I'm not alleging the law firm did anything bad. I believe they are in this lawsuit, and I believe they're going to defend themselves. So I got to see what the judge says, and I believe, I'm not going to give my opinion, right? All right, let's see how that goes. They said the purchase originally recorded by the defendant was invalid, and the Jones needed to record a statement releasing the invalid purchase. Could not be sold to a buyer. He released the invalid, but did not the transaction close. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. This isn't the crazy stuff. Grabner responded that it's crazy that investors can take an agreement that is not valid, not do the due diligence, said the person's authorities signed said agreement record against the property, get paid to release it. Defendant Magnus Title proceeded this crazy action. Indeed, defendant Magnus Title went on to assist in at least one other transaction where a third party paid money to convince Jones to release an admittedly invalid contract. Despite having fiduciary responsibility both buyer and seller on numerous occasions, Magnus Title closed entire transactions. This is the crazy part. This is the crazy thing, okay? Both seller and buyer on numerous occasions, Magnus Title closed entire transactions without ever speaking to the homeowners because the defendant demanded to retain absolute control over the transaction by acting as the sole point of contact. Magnus Title would also allow defendant to choose which notary was dispatched to witness the homeowner's signature on transaction documents, risking that the notary would also act as part of the equity stripping scheme. Wow. Okay. Alrighty. Defendant exchanged emails with branch manager Krista Diaz, in which Diaz insisted on speaking to a homeowner before closing to her transaction. Diaz said, I just corresponded with the president of the company. It's always been mandated to practice that we speak with the seller directly as part of our due diligence. I completely agree. It appears that Beth may have been closing escrows without doing this, but it really is in violation of company policy, referring to Beth Ramirez and Kristen Osborne. On this behalf, Ramirez and Osborne were not the only escrow officers who allowed the defendant to close, even though he refused to let the homeowner speak to the escrow officers. Guys, I mean, this is crazy. It is insanity, okay, to have a title company not speak at all to the seller. Like, you want the seller to feel comfortable that you're going to buy the house? This is nuts. This is absolutely crazy. Defendant knew he engaged in unlawful transactions. Now, this is where the real juice is being squeezed. This is the subject to stuff. Okay, let's talk about this. Defendant Magnus Title knew the defendant engaged in unlawful transactions. On August 12th, 2023, defendant contacted escrow officer Maureen Perry at Magnus, inquiring about purchasing an owner's title insurance policy for a transaction he had closed outside of escrow. Guys, so there are transactions you do close sometimes outside of escrow. Most of them are going to be on really, really cheap properties, like a $4,000 piece of land, something like that. But I will tell you this, okay? This is where things get crazy. In Arizona, I know this, a lot of people can't do a subject to deal on an FHA loan or a VA loan. Most title companies do not let you do this. They don't in Arizona. That's what I found. And this is why these national title companies are kind of popping up everywhere for subject twos and stuff like that. But a lot of people will do a subject to on a VA loan or a FHA loan outside of escrow because they just can't find a title company. So this guy, what I'm thinking, he did that. Now he's going, hey, can I get an owner's title policy on this outside of escrow? This related to a subject to transaction where the homeowner had an FHA-backed reverse mortgage, which meant the subject to transaction was unlawful for at least two separate reasons. So they're saying that the subject to transaction was unlawful. Let's read about it. Perry ignored the defendant, so he followed up on his inquiry on August 14th, followed up again 17th, and followed on the 20th. After the fourth request, Perry sent him a preliminary commitment for title insurance. Defendant Cameron Jones inquired again about paying for the title company. He replied, let me check fee book and see how low I can get it. Less than 3 hours later, defendant saying, hey there, been officially instructed that. So the title lady said, or guy, I don't know who Perry is, I cannot do a subject twos wraps on FHA or VA loans. Like I told you, this is how most of these VA subject twos. The title company said we cannot do a subject to on an FHA or VA loan. Magnus Title branch manager Brittany Smith emailed defendant to inform them that multiple transactions relating to FHA or VA loans would not be closed. She said, as of yesterday, Maureen Perry was fired for doing sub-2 transaction, that's subject to, on FHA and VA loans. We can no longer do these transactions. On information belief, Murray Perry alone had closed over 58 of these forbidden transactions before getting fired. So they're alleging that the subject to, and then I don't know, because this is very vague, but what I see here, this is the big one, that a subject to is unlawful because it was done on a VA or FHA loan. Very, very interesting. And I'm not saying that's the entire thing, but that's kind of how I'm reading between the lines here. This is what they're alleging. Okay. In the state of Arizona. Now it's interesting. Why do they think doing a subject to for a VA or an FHA loan is illegal? I need a reason. Well, they actually do give a reason here. And I'm not giving my legal opinion on this, but basically saying I sent Mo deals, but not sure I want to pass along anything, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Renewing her request the same as her filing and the cancellation of multiple transactions. She learned the defendant Cameron Jones had done the other Magnus employees. Wonderful. What is wrong with these people? Ramirez also requested a copy of deed recorded by and see what the crazies are doing. When asked by a title officer to advise on what to do with this mess, Ramirez responded, we're going to do nothing. We're going to cancel and send Cameron Jones down the road. And if he sends any more deals, we'll review it with a fine-tooth comb. Neither Ramirez nor Magnus Title reviewed further transactions with a fine-tooth comb. In fact, Ramirez did the opposite by allowing escrow files to close out speaking to the seller, purportedly in violation of company policy. On information about the company policy of Magnus Title was to bend company policy in order to remain part of the equity stripping scheme and continue generating revenue from defraud homeowners. Right? This is the crazy part. The title company defendants both participated in transactions known as, quote, subject to, sub to, or wrap deals. Now, I'm not going to give my opinion on any of these names. Some of these names are actually trademarked for education, so I'm not going to say my opinions on any of them. But I will talk about wrap deals because that does not have any trademark, and subject to is not trademarked. I cannot talk about any other ways or strategies because I have zero opinions on those. But I'll talk about subject twos. These are deals where the homeowner would give a property deed to the defendant, but the defendants would not pay off the homeowner's mortgage. Instead, the defendant would keep the transaction secret from the mortgage lender because lenders generally demand that mortgages be paid in full when the property transfers unless the buyer is separately approved to assume the mortgage. This is very important. Unless the buyer is separately approved to assume the mortgage. That is generally okay. I can't even say, I'm not going to say this. Okay. So I'm going to ignore this word. I legally have to not say this word. I know that sounds stupid, but it is true. These transactions were particularly dangerous for homeowners because the homeowner loses the property but remains stuck with the mortgage loan. The ruse is concealed by defendants making payments to the mortgage lender as if the transfer of title never occurred. So let's read this. The ruse is concealed by defendants by making payments to the mortgage lender as if the transfer of title never occurred. This is not the way we do a subject to, but a lot of people do subject to this way. These blank transactions are particularly profitable for equity stripping enterprise because the defendant did not need to borrow money to close the transaction. Instead, they keep the homeowner as a tenant to cover the existing mortgage payments, watch the property gain value through appreciation, and evict the homeowner whenever they choose. Not good. So they're also saying this is, they have no good basis on this, but from what I have seen, they're saying here that doing a subject to without notifying the mortgage lender and making payments to the mortgage lender and not notifying them is technically, from what they don't list it 1 and 2, but that I believe might be a reason why subject twos are, quote, in their eyes, fraudulent. Or what was their quote here? Let me get the quote here. It was page 54. Let's see here. They're saying a subject to here is, let's see. Wow. Okay. Wait, I gotta go to 53 here. Branch, he said this. The homeowner had an FHA. So they said the subject to was unlawful for those two reasons. I believe because of FHA or VA from what I've seen from them. But we'll keep reading this. Okay. So rather than warning the mortgage owners, the defense were inducing homeowners to participate in a fraudulent conspiracy. Okay, this is crazy. All right. Now this is where things get insane for the subject to, okay? Let's see. Rather than warning the mortgage lenders that the defendants were inducing homeowners to participate in fraudulent conspiracy. This is insane right here. This is the crazy thing. The Arizona Attorney General is saying that the title company is it part of a fraudulent conspiracy to not tell the lender that the title has been moved? I know this sounds crazy, but this is basically inferring that doing a subject to on an VA or FHA loan is a fraudulent conspiracy. They're calling subject to fraud here. This is insane. I've never seen an attorney general say this. Everyone talks about how wholesaling is illegal and going to go illegal. We should all do a subject to. Guys, I have never heard somebody say wholesaling a house that the assignment of contract is a fraudulent conspiracy. This attorney general is saying this for a subject to, which is crazy. Or even simply referring to participate in a fraudulent transaction. They're saying this is a fraudulent transaction on an FHA or VA loan. Defendant American Title prepared a multiple-page wrap addendum to be signed by both parties and seller in a, can't talk about the rest of that. Okay. This is insane. This is crazy. Okay, let's keep reading this. So basically, the title company did what we call a wrap addendum. A wrap addendum, according to this lawsuit, warns the buyer and seller that if the mortgage lender ever finds out what happened, they're saying if the mortgage lender finds out about the subject to deal, it could ultimately result in the loss of the real property being conveyed in this transaction and any equity the parties may have in the property. Having thoroughly explained potentially disastrous legal liability arising from this transaction, American Title demands that the buyer and homeowner both execute a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the title company for any liability that they may incur to do this action, and or facilitating a breach of the underlying mortgage agreement. Holy moly. So this is basically, from everything I've seen, okay, the attorney general is saying that a subject to is part of an illegal transaction and fraudulent conspiracy. Do I believe doing a subject to deal is a fraudulent conspiracy? I don't, but I'm not a lawyer, okay? I'm not a lawyer. I'm going to let a judge define. So here's the thing. The attorney general wrote that. So the judge has to go to discovery, get all the information, but the judge now has to define Arizona law to figure out if doing a subject to on an FHA or VA loan is fraudulent or not fraudulent. Because not just the defendant's getting in trouble, but the title company who is doing the subject to is now in here. Now they are in this too. It's just crazy. The title company is now being attacked for doing a fraudulent transaction for doing a subject to deal. Now both parties have to defend themselves. This is insane. Two title companies, all these defendants. Wow. Okay. I mean, everyone talks about wholesale. Like, guys, this is way worse. Okay. And I'll tell you, here's at the end, I want to show you this. The attorney general also stated, basically implying that wholesaling is legal in Arizona. Let me show you why. Our wholesalers were protected. This is crazy. Holy moly. Lawyers were also key players in this equity stripping scheme. Lawyers were used to threaten homeowners with lawsuits following the threats. Heir seeking appointment, personal representative. I mean, this is all just attacking the attorneys here. But they're talking about placing liens that are fraudulent. Wait. Never mind. That's the IRS doing the lien. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Claiming the parties. There's no debt beyond the mortgage on this property. There's no debt beyond his mortgage on the property. The statement is false, and they knew. So apparently the lawyer knew that was false. Homeowner signed a purchasing agreement. Wow. So there was a lien, and they pretended the lien wasn't there, maybe? I don't know. In a letter, defendant Moore also stated Magnus Title, and it determined there was more money owed on the property than the sale price. Magnus then notified the complaining homeowner that they were not going through with the contract, and the complaining homeowner agreed. The statement was false. Defendant Moore knew or should have known it was false. Wow. Okay. Include listing it on a service used by... Wait. The defendant spent weeks trying to flip the West Daly Street property to an investor, including listing on services used by investors. I'm very curious what services used by investors means, but the service isn't in trouble here. Contrary to claims of the defendant Moore, it was homeowners themselves who sent letters to the title company demanding cancellation. Defendants, they were not enforceable. It's crazy here. They're saying those are void contracts. Now, they also wrote that this legally binding agreement for both parties in which the seller is unable to cancel this agreement for any reason. That's crazy. However, the buyer can cancel whenever they want the full refund of buyer's earnest money. That will void any contract you do, guys. You have to have, I mean, this is crazy. Guys, you have to have something to protect the seller a little bit. Like, here's my inspection period. Outside the inspection period, I have to close. That's, I mean, saying that you can close whenever you want is insane here. Okay. Let's see here. Refuse to bound cancellation clauses. They're really going after these attorneys. They were doing fraudulent evictions that they're saying here. Okay, this is insane. Perform similar eviction tasks. Okay, so they are doing counts of fraudulent affidavits. They're saying who did them here. Guys, it looks like this guy did thousands of fraudulent affidavits. I would not be fine. If you're in Arizona, do not file an affidavit. This is crazy. All right. Now, I think these lawyers are going to really defend themselves because this could be very defamatory towards them. So I believe these lawyers are going to defend themselves. I also believe, guys, that I don't think Magnus Title is a bad title company. It looks like they weeded out any of the bad people out. I don't think these title companies are bad. I don't think the lawyers are bad. I feel like they need to defend themselves and show to a judge that they should be defended. It's crazy that they had it, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, just because you have a bad employee doesn't mean the whole company's bad. I feel like they're pretty up and up, but that's not my opinion. And I'm going to, yeah, everyone knows my thing. I'm telling you, I think all these parties should defend themselves. And I believe if they are not doing anything fraudulent, they will get off easy. But if they were doing anything bad and the state can prove it, then we got to see what the judge says here. But pretty much, let's see. They're confusing with the deed. Paying for fraudulently probate quiz. This is crazy. These acts, blah, 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 blah. Home advocate. Magnus Title participated in false and fraudulent acts. These defendants knew they should have had their actions violated by Consumer Fraud Act. These acts combine the form of scheme to fraud, entice people under the Consumer Fraud Act and violations. Let's see. So here's how in wholesaling is legal. This is the one that I read. Okay. So let's do this one here. In 2023 alone, at least 25 occasions, defendant acting on his behalf entered in agreements assigning his interest in real estate property to wholesale buyers and or wholesale sellers defined as ARS. So this is basically a defendant did not make a written disclosure required by ARS, thereby concealing from other party his right to cancel the contract if they defend it. So basically, there's a law in Arizona where you have to basically disclose that the seller can cancel whenever they want. So the attorney general saw that this guy did 25 assignments in 2023, and it's legal to do the assignment of contract. What he did here is he didn't disclose to the seller that they could cancel whenever they wanted. So this basically states that, yeah, they like wholesaling is legal. It's all good. They just didn't do it the right way there. Void contracts. I'm not going to get in the whole thing on here. This can get a little crazy. I think they're stating because the contracts didn't have enough EMD that they're all void here, which is kind of crazy here. Foreclosure consultants, they're very upset over that. They're even going back to 2024 about this, which is insanity to me. Let's see here. Unauthorized practice of the law. So do not act like you're an attorney. I believe this is what they're doing here. Yeah, they were not licensed to prepare bankruptcy forms. Do not be doing any of this stuff. Let's see here. Barring defendant from assisting with bankruptcy in the Southern District. Oh yeah, this guy's been attacked multiple times. Wow. The Southern District of Texas stopped him from authorizing law. They've already attacked him from assisting with bankruptcy in Southern District of Texas. Jeez. Count 8, financial exploitation of vulnerable adults. Physical and mental impairments. Guys, do the right thing here. Half truths. So racketeering. Holy moly. Played their part for entity recruiting associates for the enterprise through fraud. Engineering software making the scheme more efficient to develop false and misleading, saving the home from foreclosure. Yeah, that is actually insane. Escrow officers closing questionable deals for their VIP. Customers ignoring their duties to victimize in mass. The defense knew they were doing. Principals were collecting mass scheme to transfer. This is crazy. The equity stripping intricate plan. The scheme involved mislead homeowners, fraudulent pretenses, representations. Defendants collectively generated millions of dollars. State class. This scheme was chargeable or indictable under the laws of the state of Arizona as a class 2 felony. Wow. Did so for financial gain, racketeering. Wow, this is a lot here. Forgery, equity stripping scheme. They're giving false information on the order to. This is insane. The defendant presented the false instruments. Arizona is a class 4 felony for this. Racketeering, treble damages. Holding the property. Wait. All defendants acquired any properties or all the scheme stand as involuntary. Okay. All relevant times and or common goal of successful executing the equity stripping scheme. The defendant collectively operated as an enterprise. They're going to illegal conducting an enterprise, which is crazy. Now, they're not talking about subject twos anymore on here, so that could get very interesting. Trouble damages. So they're trying to get case law on the subject two, I believe, here. Let's see. Numerous acts. Alter any, creating an illusion of arms. Now they're going to have to list pendant. Finding liability under consumer following the... Let's see. So the state of the state of Arizona now is asking for this judgment. Liability on all counts, ordering defendant to pay damages to be proved at trial, ordering defendants to pay civil penalties, ordering defendants to disgorge any profits, gains, receipts, or other benefits from the violation of the Fraud Act, ordering title to real property acquired in violation to be restored to the homeowners from whom it was unlawfully taken. So what's crazy here is this one. Ordering title acquired in violation of the Consumer Fraud Act to be restored from who is unlawfully taken. So do you know what title gets moved over on line 17, page 80? Subject twos. So the subject to title could be moved over now because it was, quote, fraudulently done from what the state of Arizona believes. We're going to see this judgment. This is going to be happening in a couple of years. I don't know when this is going to happen. It's going to take forever. But from everything I've seen here, a subject to, that title might go back to the homeowner with all the equity, which would be insane. And this looks like, I'm being honest, this is going back to those subject to deals from 2023. So this might give, wow, okay. This actually might go out here and cause, this is crazy. So this means the state of Arizona might, I'm not saying this might happen, but like they can go to someone who did like 30 subject to deals over the past 10 years, say it's fraud, and then move all the title from the 30 subject to properties they own over back. If it was an FHA or VA, I don't know. I mean, that would be crazy if that happens. Now, maybe the judge says no, not on the subject to transactions, but I don't know. This sounds crazy. Wow. Okay. Definitely the properties that he owned. Maybe he bought the property, title goes back to them. Ordering title to real property acquired as a result of racketeering or legally conducting an enterprise be forfeited upon proper notice. Wow. Dissolving their entities, permanently all defendants from further violations, permanently causing the defendants and their agents from engaging in any activity, business, or enterprise involving the purchase and sale of real property, except for property used as the defendant's primary residence. This is insane. Basically, this guy, he is innocent before being proven guilty. It looks like they're going to try to stop the guy from doing any purchase and sales of real estate. So he can't do any real estate investing outside of his own personal house. That is insane. That is crazy. Wow. That is brutal. Okay. Making appropriate referrals to the State Bar of Arizona for investigation of unlawful practice of law. They're going after these lawyers, it looks like. Appropriate referrals to adult protective services and ordering defendants to pay or costs recovered pursuant to any applicable states. Wow. So that is it right there. That is geez Louise. That is crazy. So yeah, it's holy moly. Things are getting crazy here. So what does this mean? So guys, we're not going to get any answers for a very long time, at least a year or two on this. But kind of what I saw here is, number one, rule one, do the right thing. I think this is pretty obvious, but just do the right thing, guys. Don't lie to a seller. My name is Zach. I'm looking to buy a couple properties in the area, me and my partner. I think that's pretty normal. And just make sure that you're buying the house. Don't pretend like, that you're some charity. Don't tell them that like, oh, you can stay in like that. Guys, come on, do the right thing. And this is just a general rule, but like, just do the right thing. Use a good title company. Use a title company that has done many transactions, and just make sure that you're not like forcing the title company to do weird stuff. I think that's kind of crazy. All right. So again, a lot of people think that equity stripping is wholesaling. No, it's not. Again, that's a myth. Arizona says equity stripping, from what I've seen, is stopping the property from going to foreclosure and getting those funds when those funds can go to the seller. Look at page 5 on that document, right? It's very important that I've seen here that the auction date being set is considered the time when the equity stripping should technically start. So if you're doing a pre-foreclosure, I think you should be fine here. Got to remember, dude, when you lie, when you pretend to be a charity, you deceive, take advantage of elderly people under the influence rate. Like that is just when you get attacked. Okay. So be very, very careful. Okay. So what I'll tell everyone is be very careful when it comes to foreclosures. In general, I'd be very wary on a pre-foreclosure deal. If you lock it up and the seller wants out, you let them out. You don't file an affidavit on a pre-foreclosure. You don't do any of this stuff anymore. Don't do an affidavit on a pre-foreclosure or any foreclosure. You have to make sure that, hey, do you want to go with this or not? I'm here to buy the property. If you do not want to sell it, you don't have to. I would just be very wary with those type of sellers. And most importantly, guys, if you're wholesaling the way that we teach at freewholesaling.com, all these allegations would never work. Okay, all those allegations will not work. Wholesaling the way that we teach in freewholesaling.com all works. Even with these allegations about equity strip, wholesaling subject to, like, if you do it the way you teach in freewholesaling.com, we do the right thing. And like, none of this would even be a problem. He should have gone to freewholesaling.com and learned. So my opinion is this is a big nothing for wholesaling real estate. Like, I mean, just don't deceive or do the fraud one. Again, guys, read page 51 again. I think that's the big one. So again, not notifying the bank, I believe on subject twos is the big issue here. And just generally be very careful of subject twos of doing them on FHA or VAs. Looks like Arizona has a massive problem with this. And seems crazy. So what I would tell you to do is I would not do a subject to on a VA or FHA loan. I know this is a crazy statement to say, but I would probably say no. Okay. From what I've seen is they're trying on here to potentially get rid of all the subject to deals that were FHA or VA from this defendant. That's insane. And if you do a subject to deal 5 years, if you do it now, 5 years later, they might go after you for doing a subject to deal on FHA or VA. You might get that title moved over to them because it was a fraud. I don't know. But like, I've never seen somebody for just doing an assignment of contract, them being considered fraud ever. And then like they lose all, like, this is crazy. So traditional subject to looks scary. I'll be honest with you. So owner financing, just making sure you keep the title in the seller's name. If you're doing any type of subject to, I would avoid VA or FHA loans on subject twos. That is my opinion. That's a humble opinion, but I would avoid that right now. Now, there might be case law that comes out after this saying, oh no, FHA VA is all good. Go crazy. But I want to see what a judge says here because this is very, very concerning. I haven't seen any attorney general basically interpret subject twos being fraudulent. And I've never seen anyone saying wholesaling is fraudulent, but I've seen now today someone said subject to is fraudulent. So I'd be very, very wary. Again, I don't want you to do a subject to on a VA loan, and then the courts say that, it has to go back to them. That'd be really bad. Not good. So what does this mean? Number one, even you saw Magnus Title, which I believe is an up and up title company from what I've seen. They had some bad people in there. I believe all that stuff's fixed. I don't know. I'm not saying anything bad or good about Magnus Title. I know a lot of wholesalers still use them today. So they have to be doing good stuff, I believe. Maybe they did something bad. I have no idea. I don't know. But it looks like the people that did anything bad are all fired. So that's good, I guess. But what I'll tell you is even Magnus Title here said we're not doing any subject twos on VAs or FHA loans. And I would tell you that it's going to get, after this lawsuit, I don't know. It's going to be very, very difficult to find many title companies in Arizona or probably, I don't know, maybe in the United States, I don't know, that will do VAs and FHA loans. I don't know. It's going to get crazy. Yeah, we got to see how this goes. Number two, we're going to see what this judge says. What the judge says is going to be used as case law going forward. So we're going to see how this happens. But here's the funny part. Nobody is talking about this in a way that I'm saying it. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, I saw something on Facebook. Oh, this is nothing for subject to. This is nothing. I think this is a pretty big deal for subject to. I mean, you guys read it with me. They called it a fraudulent conspiracy doing a subject to transaction. I think this is because if that case law, and they also showed that the state attorney wants every property that was fraudulently done to have the title moved over. That's crazy. That's crazy. So it is a big deal for subject twos. And the fact that these title companies in this lawsuit are refusing to do FHA VAs now going forward, who knows where it's at now. So we're going to see what the judge says. This has big implications. Guys, don't lie. Don't defraud your sellers. I mean, this is just general stuff. I would say the truth about everything. Okay. If you even want to go as crazy as saying, no, I'm not buying the property, I'm going to sign the contract. If you want to do that, you go do that, right? What I like to do is be very upfront. Me and my partner are looking to buy it. Usually he'll buy it and I'm the one who talks to you, right? I don't think that's defrauding at all. And you can write a contract and then assign it to him, but you can keep your, basically, depends how you do it, but you can keep your, what's the best legal term? I got with all these disclosures today, right? You got to make sure when you buy it, you're still liable to do what you signed in the contract, right? So there's certain ways you can write, but guys, I would not lie, defraud your sellers. Hey, I'm looking to buy your property, me and my partner. I don't think that's a problem at all. And then number 4, respect foreclosures. This is a big one, guys. Put some respect. Put some respect on foreclosures. What I basically mean here is, I'm telling you the truth here. If somebody's in a foreclosure and they went out, just let them out of the contract. I'm not going to mess with the foreclosure. I'm going to be very, very upfront with the foreclosure. I'm not going to convince a foreclosure to go. I'm not going to do any of this stuff. Very, very important. Don't write affidavits. I would say stop affidavits right now. Clouding title. And then again, if a seller is over the age of 65, if a seller has a mental impairment, a physical impairment, I I know this sounds crazy. Like I would say, hey, do you have a family member I can talk to about this so we're all on the same page? As long as you try your best, I think it'd be good, right? I think a lot of wholesalers, they try to avoid that. Oh, they're 90. I'm only going to talk. No, try to get the family members involved. You're going to be good. But this is big implications going forward. I'm very, very, very interested to see what's going on in Arizona and how this is going to affect subject twos around the whole country. So that's my spiel on this. This is my talk on this. I feel like a lot of people have a lot of opinions on this. And let's see what your opinions are on here. Got a lot of people asking here, right? Stan says, I do everything up and up. I will still do VA loans until otherwise shown illegal, which I don't think you're doing anything wrong about that. That's a good statement. I have contingencies in my contract if there is an issue with the deed being in my name. Okay. Not bad. Yes, I agree. Avoid FHA VA properties for subject twos for now. I mean, that's what I think. Let's see. Yep, innocent until proven guilty. So we're gonna see. This is not also this is not criminal, by the way. So subject to transaction contracts are provided by our realtor associations. How is it a conspiracy? Gabe, that's what they said, dude. All I'm saying is that's what it was told on here. Read the document with me. So now I'm very curious about what subject to the National Association of Realtors has, but subject to realtor contract. I mean, what can you tell me? What realtor association has your contract? Gabe, please let me know. I'm very curious. Please, Gabe, I want to know what realtor association of what area has subject to transaction contracts on their website. Please let me know, Gabe. I'm very, very, very curious. If it's in Arizona, that'd be even crazier. But I don't see any real estate association having a contract for a subject to transaction on their site. But I'd love to know. I would love to know. Please tell me. Because subject to inherently is buying the property subject to the mortgage. So, I mean, I'm curious to see what it says. Because the thing is, you might have a subject to transaction, but it's that wrap addendum, the disclosures, right? All these things. I'm very curious on how it's going to end up. So we're getting a lot of these fake bots. Inbox me. I got financial tips, guys. This is all a scam, by the way. If you see these DMs, this is all a scam. I gotta remove them off next time. But this is crazy. Yeah, guys. Also, I want you to know I don't agree with the whole subject to being a fraudulent conspiracy. I don't agree with it, but everything I see here in Arizona doesn't look good. That's all I'm saying. The Attorney General stating that the subject to is illegal because of the fraudulent act, which makes the whole process involved illegal. I would agree to a point on there, but it also I would agree with that DIG if it didn't say this. Now here's the part that bothers me on this. Okay, let's go to 54. It says here. They're saying they're saying that the blank transactions are dangerous for homeowners. They're calling it a ruse. So, I mean, calling a subject to a ruse and dangerous for a homeowner. And rather than warning the mortgage lenders, the defense were inducing they're not saying that the defendant, that Cameron Jones guy, they're saying the title company inducing homeowners to participate in this fraudulent conspiracy. And they're saying that American Title is the one doing this, the bad thing. So the fact that they're calling subject to a ruse is where I'm at on here, so that's why I don't agree with your statement here. Let's see here. Let's see here. Yeah, no. So yeah, it's a trademark term, so I'm not going to get my opinion on it. So yeah. So yeah, wraps are a different animal. It is very weird. It's very, very, very weird. So let me see. Let's see. No, I didn't get where the subject to form is on the realtor says. Okay, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. This is very, very interesting. I think subject twos are going to have a wild case law in the coming future, and we're going to see what's going on with them. Wholesaling real estate's all fine, legal dandy, so we're all good there. Guys, if you want to do any creative financing, I would tell you stick to owner finance if you're wary about this. Owner financing lease options are all still good. So things are very interesting. So we're going to see what's going on, guys. Wholesaling real estate's fine. Subject to, I believe, in my opinion here, is being attacked. We're going to see what happens here. So this is very interesting. The thing is, all these defendants get to defend themselves, and the judge gets to judge if what the attorney general has said is good or bad. So we're going to see what's going on here. So very, very interesting. Guys, if you like this information, the only video that I could find on the internet talking about this by actually showing the actual the affidavit on here, actually showing that I think I'm the only one on YouTube who has shown this court filing and actually given you the ability to read it. Guys, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe. We'll see you soon. This is Zach signing out. Have a blessed one. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.